action. Hi, you guys. I'm Anna. We're going to do a mat Pilates class today. We will be using some props. So if you have a TheraBand or already pre-looped TheraBand, feel free to grab that. You could do any of these exercises without the band too, though. Stability ball, small one, mini in the back there. And if you don't have a mini, you could do like rolled towel or yoga block or like a stability cushion to sub for some of these exercises. Even like a short foam roller would work. But again, most of these you should be able to do without, and I'll kind of try to remind you throughout. We'll do some options to level up and level down, but just check in with your body, drink some water, and make sure you breathe. So we'll start standing. A little mobilization here. We'll just start with some easy rotation. Just don't have to overthink this at all. Ankles, knees, hips, waist, shoulders. Does your neck turn? And just checking in with how everything's feeling and moving. Hello, come on in. We're using a band and a ball. And then on your last one, you can just kind of settle to center. We'll do some shoulder rolls. So just really easy rolling up and back. I'm just trying to connect in with the shoulder blades as they slide towards your spine and down the back of your rib cage. And then let's reverse it. And a little check, kind of where are you breathing? How are you breathing? Could you find this kind of three-dimensional, think of myself as like a canister, you know, the mail tubes that suck your mail up. That's what I'm visualizing for myself today. And then so if your leg's a little bit wider, we're just gonna do a little side reach. So you're just gonna reach one arm away, switching sides. Easy breath, let the armpit open. You can push through the same heel of the side of the arm that you're reaching. And just find some length between your hip and your rib. Now let's try one more each way. Nice, and then let's bring the hands together. So we're gonna clasp the hands, little shoulder blade stretch. So as you push your hands away, you're gonna round your upper back. So I'm trying to press my shoulder blades and my wrists apart. And I'll bring my arms up, find a neutral position. So arms are on either side of my ears. And then I'm gonna pull my elbows back and lift my chest. And we'll try that again, switching your grip. We'll go the opposite direction. So rounding, you can feel free to add like a little wiggle from side to side. Again, kind of our standing pre-Pilates movement. So we're not worried about being like perfect yet, but just seeing kind of what's going on. Let's do one more here. Rounding the spine, feel free to bend the knees. Coming to a nice neutral, and then letting those shoulder blades retract because that's how we're gonna access a little more extension. Nice, and then let's do a little roll down. So feet will be about hip distance. We're just gonna nod the chin. You can think of looking down and tracing your entire body as you roll as low as feels comfortable. Feel free to bend the knees. And then at the bottom, relaxing the back of the head, push through the feet. See if you can retrace your legs and torso, so head's the last thing to come up. And let's just do a nice reach towards the sky. That feels good. And we'll just do that 2 more times. So rounding down. As you lengthen your head towards the ground, if you notice that your knees like to lock and your weight kind of shifts to the heel, see if you can just bring the weight a little more evenly balanced through the whole sole of the foot. And then we'll push through the feet to roll up. And sweeping the arms up. And on this last one, we're gonna come all the way down. We'll find our way to kneeling. Take time on your roll down here. Letting your shoulders relax. And then once you get to the bottom, we're gonna find ourselves in a little tabletop position. So walk your hands forward. Once you're nice and stacked, so wrists under shoulders, knees under hips, take a couple rounds of cat-cow. So I'm gonna round my spine, looking towards my inner thighs. And then letting the sits bones open, lifting the chest. And so just noticing for these first couple, and maybe you even close your eyes, kind of there's 3 parts moving here. So I've got my pelvis, my spine, and my shoulder blades. If you can think of your abs lifting to create that curl as you push away with the arms, warming up the shoulders a bit here. And then after this last one, let's come to a nice neutral position. So one hand comes to center, doesn't matter which side. We're just gonna sweep the opposite arm forward and back towards the hip. And then we'll replace the hand that's on the ground with the opposite side, sweeping the arm forward and back. It's okay if there's a little movement here in the hips. See if you can push with your bottom arm to facilitate just a little more rotation. So your arm is still, your ribs are rotating. Sweeping back. Let's do one more each way. See if you can let your eyes get involved here. So we know when we use our eyes, we facilitate just a little bit more rotation. Nice, and then come back to a neutral position here. We're gonna take a little bird dog. So you can keep it a little more supported with limbs on the ground, or you can float the limbs up. Easy breath in, and then coming back to your tabletop position. So with your breath, we'll just do a breath cycle, easy breath in, and easy breath out. To switch sides, can you challenge yourself not to shift through the supporting side? So we'll say the feature is the supporting limbs, core is engaged. So we're not arching through the low back. Can you arrive and leave at the same time? Nice. Give this one more go here. Okay, and then we'll take the right leg first. We're just gonna bring the right leg to the outside of our hands. And then I can bring my hands on my thigh to give myself a little bit of support. So I'm pushing through this heel. I'm wrapping my hips nice and square. I'm gonna reach the same arm as my back leg up and just take a nice little stretch here. Maybe I add a slight side reach. Just breathing in and out. And just noticing how this stretch feels. So nice neutral position. We're gonna take it a little bit more into the thigh specifically. So now imagine you're pulling up the front of your workout pants with your core. So I'm coming into an imprint, like a tucked pelvis. And then maybe this is enough, or you can take it into that side stretch again. Just a slightly different variation. We're gonna do a lot of hip stuff, so nice to open up the front of that. And then come back to center, bring your hands back down to the same position here, sweep that right leg around. We'll keep the right leg long. And then using your arms, just push back so you get a nice little calf stretch through that right leg. Yeah, and you can bounce kind of in and out of this. Nice big toe stretch. You can check out your foot, take a peek, notice it's nice and neutral through the ankle joint. And then we'll bring that leg in and we'll try the other side. So we'll sweep the left leg around. Should set you up pretty square here if you're a little open. Just push through that front heel. We'll sweep the same arm as back leg up. And then easy breath. If you want to add the side diagonal reach, you can. If up is enough, totally fine here. If the toes want to grip, push through the heel a little bit more. And then when you come back up, just change that pelvis position. So now instead of being in neutral, I'm scooping, finding a little bit of a tuck. Again, maybe reaching up, maybe adding that side reach. Nice easy breath here. And then you can bring that arm all the way back down to the inside of that foot. Sweep that leg all the way around. Straighten that leg behind you, pushing with your arms. You get your nice little calf, ankle, toe stretch on the side, and you can bounce in and out of it. That feels okay. Try to activate the glutes. You can open up the front of the hip a bit here. And try one more breath with that side in mind. Nice, and then let's bend the leg. We're gonna cross the ankles, grab your ball, and we'll do a little ab excitement. So we'll start with the ball in between our thighs. We'll kind of switch between both of these props today. So I'm gonna try to sit up as tall as I can in my pelvis. So that might mean I have to walk my feet out a little further or even flex the feet to sit more upright. So I'm gonna squeeze the ball. I can have my hands on my thighs to start. Can I keep my thighs still in space and then move my pelvis away from my thighs? Once my arms are straightened, I'm gonna pause, take a breath in, exhale, take a mini crunch and curl so that your ribs stack back on top of your pelvis. Yeah, and you can keep going with this with your arms. I'm gonna flatten my feet here. So I'm gonna roll back, pelvis away from thighs. So if you looked down, you'll notice the wrinkles in your pants kind of disappear. And exhale to scoop and come forward. So if you wanna make it harder, just get rid of the arms. Now I'm using my inner thighs a lot more. It's definitely gonna turn on my core a little bit more. Exhale through that hard part, helps, right? Naturally, we're kind of compressing the abdomen when we're exhaling. Can I keep my thighs nice and still in space? Maybe take it back just a little bit lower. Nice. One more like this. We'll make it a little more exciting. So on the next one, we're going to bring our arms together, roll back to a place you feel like you can keep your curl. So if we start to flatten out, we're going to curl up a little higher here. Without letting your knees move, we're going to exhale, twist the ribs to one side. Inhale and exhale, twist the ribs to the opposite side. So you've got some nice visual feedback. If you notice your knees are shifting, give that ball a little bit more of a squeeze through center. Typically, we like to weight away from the direction we're turning. So try putting just a little bit more weight into the hip of the direction that you're rotating. And you might find you get a little bit further here. Curling up and over, watch for flattening out the upper back. And last one each way. Hopefully we feel some core. You can take it a little lower, take it a little higher. And then we'll come all the way back up. Take that ball out for a second. So walk your feet a little wider, just a little twist. And you can let your whole spine move here. Hands can be on the ground. Play with a couple of those in each direction. Yeah, we can have tight hip flexors that can also be weak. So sometimes we have a weird association with tight and loose and weak and strong, but important to activate those guys. Once you're feeling even here, we're gonna come back to that same kind of position, but we're gonna switch our ball setup. So we'll pop the ball behind the low back. So for this one, you might have to kind of roll and squish and find the perfect placement. It's really easy to get stuck in the arch here through the low back. So we wanna make sure we're supported in the same C curve. So we're just rolled back off our sits bones. Should feel like a little bit of work just to be in the position. If you're starting to fall back, just curl up a little bit more. Woohoo. And then all we're gonna do is reach one arm out. Nothing else moves. And then we bring that arm back in. And then we switch sides. And you can keep your legs hip distance. If the inner thigh feedback is nice, you could bring your legs a little bit closer together. Yeah, and so allowing your shoulder blade to move towards your spine and open up the front of your chest so you get a little bit more core work. And just exhaling, noticing if there's tiny little rib shifts. The ball's gonna give you some good feedback if there's shifts in the pelvis. You got one more each way, curl up just a little bit higher. Yeah, good, nice. And we're gonna make it just a little harder for this last one. So we're gonna exhale, reach both arms up, and then inhale, reach those arms back down. Just notice if the neck wants to get involved. You can keep that head easy, right? Upper abs funneling down, letting your shoulder blades move. Two more. Yeah, nice, last one. And then you can come all the way forward, take that ball, pop it in between your thighs here. We're gonna do some full roll up. So starting with the legs bent, great way to learn it. Hands behind your thighs, just like your half roll back. So my pelvis rolls first. And I wanna get my lowest vertebrae down, ideally, before my ribs and shoulders and head. And then I can take my arms overhead. If you're working on roll up, use the momentum. So I'll sweep my arms up and I'll press. And then I can reach for my thighs, squeeze the ball and come up. And if you feel pretty good there, start to take away the momentum. So as you roll back, you're gonna control all the way down, eyes falling, fingertips, inhale and exhale. Milk this, go as slow as humanly possible. And if that feels okay still, maybe you extend the legs. If back doesn't like the straight leg version, stick with bent leg. So we know we get stronger working eccentrically, right, than concentrically. So you can really milk as a good like tool is maybe try your harder version rolling down. So maybe do like your straight leg version, super slow. And then you take your slightly more supported version on the way back up. So you could bend the legs. Yeah, nice. And we'll say two more here. If you want to make it harder, you can either do hands across your shoulders, so you have a little bit more load. Good reminder. Also, if you like to lift your shoulders to your ears, they're a really great ab assistant. Like toes, shoulders, we'll do all your ab work for you. Nice, we're gonna stay down on the next one. So whenever you get down, we're gonna take the ball and we're gonna pop it underneath our bum. So lift your hips. If it's under your low back, it'll kind of force you into a big old arch. So bias a little bit lower here, especially if your ball's a little fuller. And then come into an imprint. So my pubic bone is towards the ceiling. I'm gonna use my abs just like we did in that stretch earlier to scoop and roll back. So I'm in a flat back position. You can have hands on the core and the hips if that's helpful feedback, or down on the ground. We're gonna exhale and float one leg to tabletop. And then inhale to lower back down. And just try the other side. So easy alternating marches. If you feel like your thighs are working really, really hard here, see if you can exhale and kind of find that timing of as the air is shooting out, that compression you feel in your core, that's the impetus for the leg lift. So your leg is super, super lazy in this first march. I'm just trying to minimize any wobbles, kind of side bends, shifts on the ball. If this is feeling easy, just pop those arms up to the ceiling. And if you want to make this even harder, you can hover your arms by your ears, because now we're challenging that imprint kind of in both directions. This is still feeling pretty good. Next time you float one leg up to tabletop, exhale and float your second leg to meet it. So now your supporting leg is in the air. We're going to go back to those taps, little marches. Think of a really delicate touch on the ground so that you're not actually putting any load into that foot that's tapping. And just keep an eye on that supporting leg. So if it starts to kind of wander around, it's going to make it a little harder for the working side. Remember, it's your thigh moving away from center that's going to create the ab work versus just your knee bending and extending. Again, if you want to make this harder still, arms overhead is a great way to do it. You can start to extend one leg long so you're hovering over the ground. And we'll take 4 more here. Keeping that nice consistent breath. Nice, when you finish your last one, earn your transition. So really controlled lower one leg at a time. Lift your hips up. We'll pop that ball right in between those thighs again. And then with heels close to fingertips. So we're gonna get more glute this way, but if knees don't love this, you can always walk your feet a little further away. And with arms to the ceiling, let's try a shoulder bridge. So we'll work that same imprint that we did on the roll down and just a moment ago. So you're gonna scoop before you lift. We're only coming to like the base of the shoulder blades, base of the bra line. So we won't come up as high. Reach your arms all the way overhead and just rest them on the ground. And then roll your spine all the way back down. So you're sort of re-imprinting on the way back down. And then try that again. So nice scoop to roll up. Arms reach overhead once you hit the apex. And then melt and roll it back down. And so the ball, hopefully not just there to look cool, but give you some good feedback on inner thigh, but also glutes. You can always cop a feel, make sure those are on. Keep your arms overhead. And then can you recurl through that imprint to place your spine back down? We're gonna take one more like this, last one. If you feel like you're smashing your back to lift, see if you can think of scooping and peeling. It's a little more core dominant. When you finish your last one, reach your hands behind your head. I'm gonna clasp your hands and you'll see the elbows just kind of out of the corners of your eyes. We're gonna come into a crunch. So find that imprint position again, right? Gently lengthening your low back against the mat as you curl your pubic bone towards your chest. You're gonna exhale to curl up, gazing just above the knees, kind of past the knees. And then as you inhale, see if you can lengthen a little further away. So if you've got a 1 count crunch as we exhale, see if you can find a 2 count lower. Keep your imprint on the way down. So we're challenging that imprint and find space between your hips and your ribs. So you're constantly getting a little bit longer. Yeah. Right, if our thighs are working overtime, give ourselves a little check, redirect into the core. Right, just below the chest here, that's where we're flexing. So the weight will kind of shift from evenly through the whole spine, as you'll notice as the head lifts, mid back weight's a little bit more, as the shoulder lifts, mid back weight's a little bit more. Let's make it a little more exciting here. So on the next one, we're gonna curl up. You're gonna reach your arms towards the back of your thighs. Take a breath in, exhale, pull yourself up even higher. So higher than you could get without your arms. Take a breath in here. Exhale, reach your arms behind your head without losing height. And then lengthen all the way back down nice and slow. Let's do that 4 more times. So easy breath in, exhale to curl. Take a breath in, reach and exhale to curl again, double curl. Take a breath in here. Now can you exhale, keep your height, and then lower all the way back down. Nice, you guys. And exhale to lift. Little bicep curl, pull yourself up a little higher. Maybe you go wider arms for more torture. Or alternately narrower arms for less. Let's do 2 more. Can you breathe while you swoop the arms around? So take your breath in here and then exhale. It's a hard moment to not hold your breath. Last one. Inhale and exhale to curl. Nice, last one. Sweeping, keep your chin tucked. And then lengthen all the way back down. Lovely, okay. Walk your feet a little wider, take that ball out. We're just gonna do a little windshield wiper. So if my knees fall to the left, my eyes look to the right. And if my knees fall to the right, my eyes look to the left. So just a little twist here. From side to side. We will switch to a side, whatever side is easier for you to see from, because we'll do both sides. You're gonna pop that ball behind your top knee. So find a comfy position for the head, maybe arm bent, maybe arm long. For more support, you can bend the bottom leg. For more challenge, you can lengthen it all the way long. Maybe a little less stability here, still active. We're just gonna do a little float up and down in parallel. So my knee is gonna tap my bottom thigh and then float up. Yeah, and neutral spine. So if you notice your knees way up here, see if you can bring it to where you feel not strained, but like you're working in your neutral. So you might be a little forward of your supporting leg. That's okay. You should feel kind of where a swimsuit line would be. There's this nice crease right at the side of the joint. And then if I find my top side of my body is getting a little short, you can always bring a hand to the hip, but think about engaging through the bottom side of your abs because that'll help push that hip down. Pause at hip height on this next one. You're gonna bring your hand to your hip. You're gonna find a nice little crease at your hip joint. When you bring your knee forward, it'll feel like you're opening your sit bone a bit, sticking out your bum, and then open the front of your hip as you reach your foot back. So just little swings, front to back. Nice, and hand at that hip crease, like if you karate chopped, so that you can get a good fold here, just like in your toe taps. So like a little bit of hamstring, a little bit of glute, hopefully. If your torso is doing a lot of swimming, which you guys look really good, just think a little bit more ab. Let's do one more front and one more back. So we'll take that ball, set it down in front of us, rest the same knee you just worked on top of it. Doesn't have to be super high. So if you need a little more space, you can lower it. Flex your bottom leg. Maybe give that foot a check if it's doing something weird. We're just gonna lift and lower. Try not to let the knee bend. So super active all the way through the heel. Yeah. Nice, and it won't go super, super far, obviously. There's not a lot of real estate here. Checking in with neck and shoulder tension. Let's pause on the next one. Take some circles. You can keep the circles from the top of the hip versus the knee or the foot. And then let's reverse those circles. Nice, for 4, 3, 2, 1, and nice job. Let's roll to the other side. We'll do the same thing. Same, but different. Pop that ball behind your top knee. Whatever is most comfortable for your head on the side, right? We're going for one long line. Bottom leg can be bent if you need more support. It's active if it's on the bottom though. And we're just gonna do a float up and a float down. So we will do some rotation later in this position. So this is our neutral up and down versus external or internal rotation. Again, you can have hand on the hip If you find that your torso, oops, there she goes. If you find that your torso is side bending a bit, think about a little bit more bottom core engagement. Length through the top. An easy neck. We'll pause at hip height here. We're gonna do your swing. So if you bring your hand to the front of your hip joint, a little tactile feedback, you're gonna draw the knee forward and then sweep the thigh back. Again, it's really easy to cheat in this one by either kind of side crunching as we lift the hip forward. So see if you can keep your hips stacked, or if you'd like a little dowel through your hip joint, they're staying nice and stacked. You might feel like you're swinging your sits bones open a bit, or like you're sticking your bum out a little bit. Just keep an eye on low back there. So more core to support. And then on this next one, you can swing your leg all the way forward, take that ball, rest your leg on it. And then we'll flex that bottom leg. So give the foot a little check if it's doing something wonky. We're just gonna float up and down. Trying to keep that knee totally straight. Yes, good. Still breathing. Couple more like this, and we'll add our circles. All right, circling. As you circle, is your foot doing some choreography? Can you keep it in the top of the inner thigh here? And then reverse. How's the core? How's the breath? Let's go for 4, 3, 2, 1. Nice job. You can take that ball out. Let's just take a little extension float. So we'll come on to our fronts here for a moment. We'll say 6, and you get to choose your own adventure arms. So for a little more support, arms by the thighs tends to be nice. You could do kind of arms in a W position, or your traditional Superman, just watch the neck if you're gonna go for that one. We're just thinking shoulder blades, obviously are gonna participate here. Everything floats up. The glutes we just worked, core supporting, and then lowering back down. And you can just turn your head and rest one cheek down and then switch your version. I'll kind of pop through all these just so you have a visual. Play with legs together, play with legs apart. This is freedom of choice. Back extension. We're going for just a quick float. Like if we don't have time for any extension throughout the day, just lie on your belly while you check Instagram. It's a great tool to get a little extension in. Once you've done year 6, we'll just meet up in a child's pose, so no rush. Once you've had a couple nice breaths there, we're gonna pop our band on. So now we'll get to some more glute torture. So for this first one, we'll pop the band just above the knees, or if you've got a tie band, you can do all of this without the band. If you don't have one, you know, in shorts is always comfortable. So we're gonna start with a little leg reach. So I'm in my, actually we'll start with a little side leg reach first, so I'll take that back. So we'll just try like 6 on each side, but I'm just reaching my knee out to the side. This is like super classic fire hydrant motion. Pick a side, we'll take 6. I want you to notice if your supporting hip is falling out to the side. See if you can keep it stable as you reach. If you have any band trauma, just adjust as you go. Once you've done those 6, we're gonna take a quick little hover. So tucking the toes, finding neutral. We're gonna keep a neutral spine. We're just gonna float the knees like 2 inches off the ground. Can you maintain that length between the top of your head and the tailbone. Easy breath for 4, 3, pressing into the band 2, last 1, and then carefully lower back down. Nice, and then switch to your other side. So you can untuck the toes if that's more comfortable, and then try your fire hydrants. If you notice that knee starting to come in towards your arms, see if you can trace a line with your working knee and your supporting knee. And trying to keep that supporting hip from falling out to the side. Nice, and when you finish that last one of 6, we'll take another. If you want to up the challenge a little bit, you can either hold the float like we just did, or when we come up, keeping those knees hovering, you can try 3 rounds of cat-cow with the knees hovering. Yeah, nice. So it's your pelvis, tons of ab, right? Lots of quad, as well as your head, doing your cat-cow. Nice, then you can come down, lovely. We'll do a quick band switch. So we'll pull the band down this time to above our ankles. For this next one, we'll set ourselves up hands and knees. So for this one, you're gonna walk your hands a little bit further forward to go like a nice hands distance in front of your regular setup. You can make an adjustment as we go. We're gonna kick our leg out, and I'm only reaching it to about hip height. So think of like your bird dog, and then bring it back in. So kicking that leg out. Nice. So this is version 1. It's quite a bit of work. If you want to add a little bit more to it, you're gonna kick out. You're gonna lower onto your triceps, or your elbows, rather, using your triceps, and then press back up, and then come back in. So just adding a little arm dip here. Here's where if you find you're not quite in the right position, you can walk your hands a little bit forward or a little bit back. Can you keep your glute reaching up into the band while you lower back down so the glute doesn't get to drop, but if anything, it's pressing more into the band. And we'll try one more here of either version. Nice, and then switching sides. So re-square up if you need. Start with just that reach. How does that feel on this side? Bending back in. Here's your version 1, right? If you needed to drop onto your forearms for this, if we're getting tired, totally fine. How's the core? Is low back starting to dip? So at hip extension, but we want to make sure that the core is strong so we're not getting into low back pain. You want to add your dip. You can reach. Keep the chest nice and open. Pushing into the band. Think of pushing into the band even more as you dip. Nice. How's the supporting hip? Kind of has it gone anywhere? Elbows straight back towards your thighs. Let's try 2 more. Checking in with your neck. Last one. Woo, nice. All right, you can sit on your bum here. Little mermaid. Pull that band up, back to above your knees. Got only, we feel our glutes. I'm smiling under my mask. Okay, so we'll come right back down to our side. So for this one, kind of typical clamshell, our knees are a little bit high. Lengthen your knees a little bit further away. So now we're gonna play with our internal and external rotation. Try just a couple lifts, same as our ball lifts, just to kind of find that position. So hip moving right at that swimsuit line. Once you found it, pause at hip height. So I'm at hip height. I'm gonna keep my knee resisting into the band, or my thigh rather, as I turn my knee in and my foot comes up. So internal rotation. Now I'm gonna rotate into external. So the band will stretch a little bit more here. As you go in and out, especially when you're coming into internal rotation, can you keep the resistance on the band? Yeah, and it's allowing a lot of movement kind of right where the back pocket of like a pair of jeans would be. Rotating that thigh. Core is definitely on here. Yay. And then the next time you're in turn in, let's stay in turn in here. We'll do some pulses. So I'll tap that knee down and then push up and down and up. Yeah, and your leg's probably gonna wanna rotate back into a different position, right? Because it's not super fun. Body's smart, how do I avoid this? So keep rotating into internal rotation to refresh. Let's go for 3 and 2 and 1. And then take a little rest. Nice, you got one more side, so we'll roll to the other side here. I'm gonna do a full flip just for viewing pleasure. And once you are set up here, so knees a little bit further away, a little extended, find a couple lift and lowers just to find, okay, I am confirm in neutral. My stack is looking good. Once you're there, float to hip height. We're gonna work that internal and external rotation. So the band's gonna wanna pull you down on the internal, so if you can keep pressing up. In external rotation, right, it's obviously gonna be a little bit higher. Typically, second side is gonna be a little harder because you already worked the first side, right? And both sides are working to stabilize. Here's where the breath really comes into play. So nice, easy, deep breaths. Move nice and smooth. Let's try one more rotation each way. We'll come into that internal rotation on this next one. Tap it down and pulse it up. Yeah, maybe hand on the hip bum area just to remind this is where the pulse is coming from. Core is on to stabilize. Usually we've got one side that's going to be a little harder to keep that rotation. Let's go for 3 and 2 and 1. Nicely done. You can take that band off, roll onto your back. Hopefully we feel our hips a bit now. And we'll go into a bit more ab work. So let's grab our ball. A couple more I want to do with the ball here. So I'll take the ball or bring it in between our thighs again. So version kind of 1 would be arms in a T, keeping the toes down, top hip lifts, pretty gentle spine twist here. Feel free to take this with the legs down. If you're ready for kind of the more full version, we'll come into that imprint position. So of course, scooping, I find my flat back. I'm gonna squeeze the ball without losing my imprint. I'm gonna gently drag my legs into tabletop and take my full twist here. So my top hip lifts as I look the opposite direction, core squeezes, you can squeeze the ball. Hopefully you feel your hips now and how much they can help you in your ab work. And exhaling, only going as far, obviously, as you're not wrenching in the low back and the shoulder can stay down. Let's take one more round each way, so evening yourself out here. Coming back to center. So we'll bring the arms down by the sides. We're gonna do a little airplane with a toe tap. So I'm pressing down into the ground with my arms. I'm gonna squeeze the ball and I'm gonna lift my bum off the mat and then lower back down slowly. So think of like your initial move on a full rollover. Now, if this feels pretty easy, maybe elbows or reaching the arms to the ceiling. So we're just taking away the support. Try as much as possible to focus on the roll down so that instead of kind of falling into the roll down, you're controlling it. Because that's the harder piece of the movement to keep the imprint. If this still feels okay, next time you come down to tabletop, you're gonna exhale, take a double toe tap, and then roll back up. So a little curl. Here's where that slow lower makes a big difference, because if we're going for that double toe tap, really easy to extend through the low back or the ribs. If you wanna make it even harder for the last 5, reach the arms overhead as you toe tap, and then bring the arms back up to the ceiling when you curl up. We'll take 4 more of whichever variation. Feel free to change the version. Last 2. And last one. Nice, and you can hug your legs into your chest. And we'll rock from side to side. Nice, we'll take that ball out here and set it off to the side for a moment. Pull your right leg into your chest. Left leg can be bent or long. It's kind of up to you in terms of how the back feels here. And then gently draw the right leg towards the left shoulder. So just bringing it across the body a little bit. And then take your hands, you're gonna clasp them behind your right thigh. Again, left leg can be bent or long, listen to your back here. We're gonna pull the thigh into the chest and flex the foot. We'll take a couple of knee pumps. So without letting the thigh move, I'm gonna try to reach my heel up into space and then bend that knee back down. So whether or not you get the leg straight, not a super big deal. We're just going for that nice stretch. Easy breath cycle with each pump. So we're not necessarily hanging out there super long. And then on the next one, if you want to change your foot position, you can play with pointing the foot, maybe making some like little ankle circles. That feels good. We'll bend the leg back to tabletop, and then we'll cross it all the way over the body. You can take your right arm and sweep it out in the opposite direction. If your shoulder doesn't quite head down, you can use your elbows to rotate your rib cage a bit so you can get your shoulder blades a little flatter to increase that twist. And then gently just rolling back onto your back here. You can give that leg one more little squeeze. And let's try the other side. So we'll draw the left leg into the chest again, supporting leg bent or long. Listen to your body. We'll pull it to the same side, shoulder first. Give it a little squeeze. And then we'll cross the left thigh over to the right shoulder. So now we're pulling it across the body. Try to keep your left hip on the ground still. So it's not a huge move. And then clasp your hands the opposite way. They usually do behind your left thigh. Pull that thigh into your chest. We're gonna flex the foot and then reach that heel to the ceiling. An easy bend. And just holding that thigh still in space. So again, does not matter if you get the leg straight. Hopefully you're feeling this through the back of the leg. You want the arms to take some of the support out so you don't feel like you have to grip your hip flexor here. And then on the next one, feel free to play with the foot position. So maybe pointing, crunching the toes, a little ankle circle. We'll bend the leg back into tabletop and we'll take that twist on the other side. So we'll let the leg cross all the way over. My arm's gonna sweep up if I'm like, oh, that shoulder is very far from the ground. Use your elbows just to give yourself a little shimmy. So you can get the back a little bit closer, turning the head if it feels okay. I like to use my opposite arm to keep pinning that opposite thigh down. And then gently rolling back onto your back and give that leg one more little squeeze here. Now we get to do Pamela Reif 10-minute abs. Okay, so our first one. If you want to add the ball for a little more excitement, feel free to incorporate the ball. You don't have to. We're going to start with our right leg as the kind of action leg, and left leg is going to be my supporting leg. So I've got my foot on the ball. My leg's really active. So quads on, foot's flexed. I'm in imprint. I'm going to draw my right leg to tabletop here. Hands are going to come behind the head. So we're going to curl up into a crunch and twist our left elbow towards our right inner thigh as we exhale without letting our right shoulder rest on the ground, and then lengthen and lower back down. Well, let's try 5 more like that. So exhaling to twist. Can you keep the ball from moving or the hips from shifting? Think of reaching through that ball as you lower back down. Slow that lower. Nice. 3 more. Supporting the head for 2. And last one. Nice. From here, you can keep the hands behind the head for a little more challenge, or you can bring the arms back down for more support. We're gonna lengthen that leg up for some leg circles. It doesn't have to be fully straight. Think about how the back is affected here. Imprint's more important. We're gonna cross the leg over the midline on an inhale, and then exhale to sweep that leg out to the side and back around. So inhaling and exhaling, reaching through that supporting leg. See how much you can make the hips that you just worked help stabilize your core. You get one more this direction, and then we're gonna reverse it. So if you inhale and exhale through that spot where the leg is kind of the furthest from center, you can utilize that breath to help keep you from barn dooring out to the side here. We've got 3 more. Last 2. And last 1. Nice, keep that leg up. You're gonna bring your arms out to the side here. I'm gonna keep my right arm on the ground, but my left arm is gonna be my action arm. So I'm gonna curl up. I'm gonna try to reach my left arm to the outside of my right leg. You can always come to tabletop if I need, and then lower back down. And then reach, and lower back down. Nice. We've got 4 more. Still in my imprint as I lower, so keep an eye on that. For 3. Last 2. And last 1. Nice, you'll pull your right leg into a tabletop position. You can bring your hands onto your shin. We're gonna take a nice breath in, curl up into your ab prep position. You're gonna float the left leg off the ball. We're gonna come into some bicycles without rotation. So exhaling to switch. If you wanna make this harder, you can switch to pressing. So pressing through the top of the thigh. If you wanna keep it stretchy, you can pull to help keep that curl. See if you can stay really stable in the trunk. We've got 4, 4, last 3, 3, last 2. Good, last set. And then you can hug both legs into your chest and roll all the way down. Take a couple circles on your sacrum in one direction. And then switching sides. You get to do that whole thing on the other side. So if you want to challenge your circles with the ball, you can pop that ball under your right foot. So now rights are supporting, left is our working leg. Coming into my imprint, left leg's in tabletop. Try to switch your grip when you reach your arms behind your head here. We're going to take our oblique twists. So I'm going to curl up, rotating right elbow towards my left inner thigh, and then lengthening back down. Seeing if you can keep the integrity of that lower, so you're really creating space and keeping that imprint. Hips super stable here. You've got 3 more. The more you reach through that right leg, you find it will support you a little bit more on that lower. Nice, last 1. And then if you want to challenge this, you can keep your arms behind your head. We'll lengthen that left leg up and we'll start with our leg circles crossing midline first. I'm going to inhale and exhale. Right, for more support, just add a little more surface area. So elbows down is a good in between, arms all the way down for more feedback. If the back feels unstable, you want to give it more support here. Last 1. And then let's reverse it. So we'll inhale, sweep out to the side, exhale through that hardest moment when the leg is furthest from the torso. Supporting side is going to help. Think about those obliques on the right side. Last 2. Nice, last 1. Keep that leg up towards the ceiling. We're gonna bring the hands to either behind the thigh or behind the calf this time. We're gonna curl up into our ab prep, still in my imprint. This time we're taking our scissors. So now my legs are gonna stay as straight as we can, right? So it's like if they're a little bit bent, we're moving from the hip joint. If you wanna make this harder, drop the hands completely. So the hands are gonna be by your hips Or for a little more work, hands are gonna be floating by the ears, right? We can always set the head down. If the neck feels like it's working too hard, this is still a ton of work through the core. Nice, and we'll go for 4 and 3. Last 2. Last 1. And then you can hug your legs into your chest again. Nice. Let your right leg cross over your left thigh, right ankle over left thigh. Reach your arms to a T and then play with some twisting here from side to side. If you want to turn this up a little bit, just float the legs to tabletop, and then you can increase that stretch. If it feels good to stay on one side for an extra cycle of breath, feel free to milk that twist. And then you can cross your right leg all the way over your left thigh, like you're sitting cross-legged in a chair. And then either grabbing kind of ankles or shins, or maybe reaching under and grabbing thighs. Try to pull your legs towards your chest as you press your tailbone down. You're trying to lengthen your spine back to neutral as you pull. And then you can uncross the legs, reach your legs to the ceiling, give them a little flop for a second. And we'll cross our opposite side, so left ankle over the right thigh. Coming into that twist on the other side. Maybe start with the first version, just to see, since we tend to be a little asymmetrical. And then if you want more, you can turn it up a bit with the legs and tabletop for that twist. Pausing to breathe, if that feels good. Then we'll take the same variation on the second round. So we'll cross the left leg all the way over the right. And again, you can grab shins, thighs, just below the knees, pull those legs into the chest. And as you do, see if you can press your tailbone down. So try to find neutral in this stretch as you resist with your arms. And then we'll uncross the legs again here. Let's roll all the way over onto our front. Do a full roll. And we'll do a little extension. Stretch out the abs a bit. So for this first one, we'll just do a couple little upper back lifts. So hands can be a little further towards ribs or shoulders. Just watch they're not too close towards your sides. So we're gonna press down through the tops of feet, got a little glute, got a little low core lifted, shoulder blades are engaged. We're just gonna come up for a little baby lift. Floating ribs are still on the mat, and then lengthening back down. We'll try that a couple times. Love an inhale for a lift. If you feel like exhale is easier for you, then feel free to switch it up. And we'll try one more like this. We're pretty engaged here. And then we're gonna bring our arms underneath us. So we're just kind of hanging out in a little bit of like a forearm stretch, and then just let everything relax. Let your belly relax, let your glutes relax. Maybe wiggle. Do a little shift from side to side if that feels good. And then we'll come back down, and now we're gonna do a slightly bigger extension. So your extension will be more extreme if your arms are closer versus a little less extreme if your arms are further, but we'll be active here. So I'm gonna start with head height. I'm pressing down through the tops of my feet, glutes are active, core is on, right shoulders are engaged. And then as I press up, I'm getting this nice active lift, kind of doing a swan dive position and lowering down with control. And I can use my arms as much as I need. And depending on how this feels, maybe, right, you only come up to the forearms, but you're active now. Maybe you bring the arms a little bit closer and you can come up a little bit higher if it feels okay. This one's supported versus our kind of relaxed version. So play around with that for a couple. Yeah, and if elbows want to track kind of this way, a little bit forward, See if you can think of elbows tracking kind of more on the diagonal back. I like to think of the letter A. Nice, and once you've had your fill of some extension, press back and take a child's pose. We'll add just a little lateral stretch to this one. So knees together or knees wide, whatever is calling to you. But we'll reach the arms over to the right. So now I'm going to use my arms to push my hips over to the left. Should feel like a nice side stretch to the whole left side body. If your head doesn't quite reach it, you can always bring your right hand back to rest your forehead on, or like make a little fist pillow, especially if your mask is in the way. And then sweep your arms in the opposite direction. And again, you can push with your arms so that the hips fall to the right. See if you can let your forehead rest on the ground, or maybe use that left hand as a little headrest. And then come back to center for just 1 or 2 more breaths, just to even it all out. And take your time when you're ready to come back up. I will leave you there. Class is over, so good work, you guys.